All right, get ready to decode the language of science because today's deep dive is taking us into the world of the NXUS file format.
The NXUS file format.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might not sound as thrilling as, say, unraveling the mysteries of dark matter, but trust me, this is one of those unsung heroes of scientific discovery,
It's true.
especially in the field of evolutionary biology.
Yeah, NXUS doesn't usually make headlines,
Right.
but for researchers studying everything from ancient fossils to the latest genomic data,
Mm-hmm.
it's an absolutely essential tool.
So what is NXUS exactly?
It's a good question.
From the research you sent,
Right?
it sounds like more than just your average file format.
It really is.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Imagine scientists around the world, each meticulously recording their research,
Okay.
but everyone's using their own unique system,
Hmm.
different languages, different methods of organization.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to compare findings,
Right.
let alone build a cohesive understanding of something as complex as evolution?
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a recipe for chaos, not scientific progress.
Exactly. And that's where NXUS comes in.
Okay.
It's like establishing a universal language for scientific data,
Okay.
a way for researchers everywhere to share their findings in a standardized,
Mm-hmm.
easily interpretable way.
Makes sense.
Published back in 1997.
Oh, wow. So it's been around for a while.
It has,
Okay.
since, cited hundreds of times.
So it's like the Rosetta Stone of evolutionary biology.
That's a great analogy.
Uh-huh.
NXUS provides a common ground for researchers to communicate and collaborate, regardless of their specific area of study or the tools they're using.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
But what makes it so effective?
Um,
What's the secret sauce, so to speak?
One of the key innovations of NXUS is its modular structure.
Okay.
They use a system of blocks to organize different types of information.
Blocks.
Yeah, blocks.
Okay.
Think of it like that good old-fashioned filing cabinet you've got tucked away in your office.
Okay, I can picture that. My desk, on the other hand, is more of a chaotic pile system.
Right.
But let's stick with the filing cabinet for now.
All right, so each drawer in your cabinet represents a different block in the NXUS format,
Okay.
and each block serves a specific purpose.
Got it.
You've got your TaxXA block for identifying and classifying the organisms being studied,
Okay.
the characters block for describing their traits,
Mm-hmm.
the trees block for depicting their evolutionary relationships.
Yeah.
It's all very logically organized.
So it's like each drawer has its own specific function, making it easy to find what you need without having to sift through a jumbled mess of files.
Precisely. And just like those file folders often have labels to tell you what's inside, NXUS uses specific commands within each block.
Okay.
These commands are like instructions for the data.
So taking this back to our filing cabinet analogy,
Yeah.
if I open the drawer labeled characters,
Okay.
what kind of instructions might I find inside?
Let's say you're looking at data on a specific gene.
Okay.
You might find the command characters, followed by the actual sequence of that gene, all those A's, T's, G's, and C's that make up the genetic code.
And each of these commands has a specific function, right?
Right.
I remember seeing something about tax labels in the research.
Okay.
What do those do?
Tax labels are exactly what they sound like. They're labels used to identify each organism or group of organisms in the study.
Okay.
It's how you keep track of who's who in your evolutionary tree.
So if I'm studying the evolution of, say, felines,
Yeah.
my tax labels might include things like lion, tiger, domestic cat, that sort of thing.
Exactly. It seems simple, but having these standardized labels is crucial for comparing data across different studies and making sure everyone's speaking the same language.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a dictionary.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together. It's like an XUS takes all the complex data of evolutionary biology and organizes it in a way that's both human readable and machine readable.
Precisely. And here's where it gets even more impressive. Remember how we talked about NXUS being forward compatible?
Right, that whole back to the future element of a file format, it still feels kind of mind-blowing.
Well, the beauty of this forward compatibility is that NXUS can adapt to handle new types of data that didn't even exist when it was first created. The researchers who designed it anticipated that scientific progress would inevitably lead to new discoveries and new types of data that would need to be integrated.
So they built in the capacity for NXUS to evolve alongside scientific understanding.
Exactly. And one of the best examples of this is the codons block. As you know, DNA is made up of those four basic building blocks, A, T, C, and G. But the way those bases are translated into amino acids, which then form proteins, isn't always the same across all organisms.
Wait, really? I thought the genetic code was universal.
It's a common misconception. While those four bases are the foundation of DNA for most organisms, The specific codons, those three-letter words formed by the bases, can actually have different meanings in different organisms.
Hmm.
It's like we all use the same alphabet but have slightly different dictionaries.
So a word like, say, AGT might code for a different amino acid depending on the organism.
Precisely. And this variation in codon usage is incredibly important for understanding evolutionary relationships.
So how does Next and Ness handle this? It's not like you can just scribble different dictionary in the margins.
That's where the codons block comes in. It allows researchers to specify the specific genetic code being used for a particular organism or group of organisms right there in the file. Going back to our filing cabinet analogy, it's like having a special section in that characters drawer where you can note any unique or unusual translations.
That's incredibly clever. It's like having a built-in system for managing complexity and nuance. But let's get back to those commands for a moment. We've talked about characters, tax labels, codons. What other tools are in this Nexus toolkit?
Well, we touched on trees earlier. This block is where the evolutionary relationships, those branching diagrams you see in textbooks, are actually represented within the data.
Right, those diagrams always makes me feel like I'm back in biology class, trying to decipher which ancient ancestor connects to which.
Well, in ECANIPES, those connections are clearly defined within the trees block, using a specific format that software can easily interpret. But beyond that, there are commands for handling the inherent messiness of real-world data.
Because, let's face it, science is rarely as neat and tidy as those textbooks make it seem.
Exactly. In reality, data is often incomplete. You might be missing a gene sequence for a particular species, or there might be gaps in a fossil record.
Which makes it even more impressive that scientists can piece together a cohesive story of evolution.
Absolutely. And NAQS helps them do that by providing a standardized way to represent that missing information. There are specific commands you can use to indicate gaps in a sequence or to flag data that's uncertain.
So instead of pretending those gaps don't exist, NXUS encourages transparency.
Precisely. And that transparency is crucial for scientific rigor. It allows other researchers to see exactly what data was used, what assumptions were made, and where there might be room for further investigation.
It's really interesting to see how NXUS not only accommodates the inherent complexities of biological data,
Yeah,
but actually encourages researchers to acknowledge the gaps in our understanding. It's
right.
like it's designed to keep science honest.
It is.
Yeah.
And that commitment to transparency extends even further. Remember those sticky notes we mentioned in our filing cabinet analogy?
Yeah.
Well, NXUS has a block called Notes that serves a similar purpose.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of notes are we talking about here?
Well, imagine you're studying a fossil,
Okay.
and you want to include a detailed image of a particular bone alongside the measurements and descriptions.
Right.
Or maybe you're working with genomic data and want to link a specific gene sequence to a research paper that provides more context.
Okay.
The Notes block allows you to do all of that and more.
So it's not just about the raw data. It's about providing a richer, more multifaceted understanding of what that data means.
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots, bringing together different lines of evidence,
Yeah.
and creating a more holistic picture of the science. And this brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of Nexus, the assumptions block.
Okay, assumptions. This sounds intriguing.
Hmm.
Isn't science all about objective facts and eliminating assumptions?
It is. But even the most rigorous scientific analysis relies on certain underlying assumptions.
Okay.
For example, when constructing an evolutionary tree, researchers might make assumptions about the rate at which certain genes mutate, or the likelihood of different evolutionary pathways,
Right. Yeah.
things like that.
So it's about acknowledging that there are always going to be gaps in our knowledge and being upfront about the choices we're making to fill those gaps.
Precisely. And the assumptions block provides a way for researchers to explicitly state those assumptions within the data itself.
Okay.
It's about transparency and reproducibility.
So other researchers can see exactly what assumptions went into the analysis, re-examine those assumptions, and even explore alternative scenarios.
You got it. By bringing those assumptions to light, NXUS helps to foster a more open and collaborative scientific process. It encourages researchers to not only build upon each other's work, but also to critically evaluate the foundations of that work.
That's amazing. Who knew a humble file format could pack such a philosophical punch?
It's a testament to the thoughtfulness and foresight of the scientists who created NXUS. They understood that scientific progress isn't just about gathering data. It's about carefully organizing and interpreting that data, acknowledging limitations, and fostering a spirit of open inquiry.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of scientific data. Who knew something as seemingly mundane as a file format could be so crucial to our understanding of the natural world?
It's often the unsung heroes, the tools and technologies working quietly behind the scenes that make the biggest impact.
Absolutely. So, the next time you see a groundbreaking discovery in evolutionary biology or genetics, remember that NEXUS might just be the unsung hero behind the scenes, quietly enabling scientists to unlock the secrets of life on Earth. And as for you, dear listener, as you go about your day, consider this: what other hidden systems of organization shape our understanding of the world around us?